So, me and Rach have got a load of questions that people have asked us, and we're going to go through them all. So that is what today is all about. First time doing this, isn't it? So this will be
First time.
This will be a laugh. This will be chaos.
It'll be really funny if we've got any contradicting opinions or answers on things that we haven't quite come across yet.
So we might break up. You might watch this and see a real time breakup as we discover that we
Our
hate each
first
other.
argument.
Our first argument. Okay.
Yeah, all right.
The first one's a good one. It's not really a question. It's more of a statement. But
Okay.
I feel guilty putting me first, so I just don't.
Ooh. Okay. Very common, I would say, to feel guilty about it, but don't.
If you feel guilty, just don't.
Just don't.
The one I always tell people, if you feel guilty putting yourself first, it's often because you've got other people, kids, family members that take a higher priority in your life over you, so you value them higher. So when you put time into you, you feel guilty for it. But when you do that and you put all your time into everyone else, you're not at your best. You're like a phone that needs charging. It's on like 20%. You need to focus on you, because if you're only at like 20%, you're only at like half your best. How can you be at your best for everyone else around you? If you're not at 100%, you can't be 100% for everyone around you. Me and you get that all the time. Like if we're fried from the stuff we're doing with clients, we're miserable to be around each other. So we have to put time in for ourselves so that we're our best selves around each other and for our clients and then for everyone else. So then everyone that you do value highest and you do put in front of you. So when you feel guilty putting yourself forward, you think of someone else where you can be a better person for that person by putting more time in for yourself.
Yeah, and that uncomfortable feeling of, oh, God, I feel terrible, will eventually disappear when you get more comfortable in putting yourself first, because you'll start to see the results of you doing that. You'll show up better, you'll feel better. Your relationships with these people that you value will improve. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll be, the better your relationships will be, the happier your home life will be. And it will just snowball from there. It'll only get better from there.
I'm getting stronger. Another statement. Ask for questions, got statements. I'm getting stronger, but the scales aren't changing.
So? This whole thing's just going to be me going, don't. So? This is a big one, isn't it?
If you're getting stronger but the scales aren't changing, well, that's great if you just want to get stronger. But if your goal's fat loss and the scales aren't changing, then you need to ask yourself why. If it's 1 or 2 weeks when the scales aren't changing, so what? If it's been 6 months and you still weigh the same, you need to change something.
Something needs looking at. Whether that's diet, training, lifestyle, something needs to change, because that is a long period of time with no scale changes at all.
9 times out of 10, if someone's dieting for long enough, so if you've been on a diet for 9 months, 6 months, let's say, and your scales haven't changed, but you're stronger, well, then you haven't been in a calorie deficit, you haven't been dieting, because chances are you're probably going to stop getting stronger at some point because you haven't got the food, you haven't got the energy there to fuel continual progression in training. So what we see a lot with prolonged fat loss in clients is that eventually you're going to hit a plateau in strength because you're losing weight. But that's if you are actually losing weight. So if you're not getting any smaller, measurements on smaller, scale isn't smaller, but you're just getting stronger, well, you're probably in a calorie surplus.
Or maintenance, which a lot of people are in but don't realise that they're in, is that you're maintaining that weight. Yeah, you're getting stronger, which is fantastic, but if it is fat loss, that's your goal, and you find you're sort of cruising at one weight, without getting too technical, pull it back just slightly, which will put you into a deficit, if that is your goal.
Here's an actual question.
Woohoo!
Is it possible to just lose belly fat?
No.
No. For the girls watching, you lose your boobs first.
Yeah.
Then you'll lose your belly.
Sorry.
You'll lose it from your arms, your boobs,
everywhere.
your face. your thighs, and then eventually probably your belly.
Chin, cheeks, jawline, everything, then belly.
That's unless you want to lose it from your belly. What I always find is whoever it is that you're working with, and they're like, oh, I really want to lose weight off my arms. Great, that's the last place you can lose weight off.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not because you're actually losing weight off that place last, but you're hyper-focused on that place. So the reason we take progress photos is because you see yourself every day. Every mirror, every reflection, everywhere you go, car windows, you're looking at yourself, whether you realise it or not. So you don't see the small changes. When we check in at the end of each week and we see the check-in photos, we can see visually that you're changing because it's been a week apart. Same with if you're hyper-focused on your belly. Every time you put a pair of pants on, you're going to be hyper-focused on, well, the pants still don't fit. If you're hyper-focused on your arms, shit, my arms still look big in that top. So it's going to feel like it's the last thing to change, but it won't.
And when you do walk past those cars, those mirrors, those shop windows, what's the first thing you're going to look at? Oh God, my arms look terrible. Or like, oh my God, my belly looks huge. Hyper focused. And you won't see that change until a long way down the line when it's quite drastic, but we see it almost immediately as changes start to happen because we're not hyper focused on it.
If I was a beginner, I'm going to look at the camera and say this. That makes more sense, doesn't it?
Okay.
But I need to know what the question is first because I can't do both.
Don't squint when you do it. Don't go, if I was a beginner.
Like I'm really thinking back to it. Double question this.
Double entendre.
Yeah. So let's go with that one. We've done fat loss. That's too muscle build, man. If I was a beginner starting off knowing what I know now, how would I start off trying to build muscle?
If you were a beginner starting off knowing what you know now, okay. That is a double.
Well, no, because they've asked about fat loss as well. So it's the same, but build
okay.
muscle or fat loss. If you knew everything you knew now,
and I was just starting,
and you were just starting to lose weight, what would you do?
There we go. We reframe the question. I would. Oh God, where do you even begin? There's a lot I wouldn't do.
What would you do?
What would I do?
A lot I wouldn't do, but what
There's
would
a lot
you do?
I wouldn't do. I would have a solid plan for every day, every single day, and a solid training program, and a solid, not meal plan as such, but I'd have a plan. I think that's the one thing so many people are missing, is a plan. Doesn't matter what's in it, as in like, it doesn't have to be super detailed, but something to outline what's going on.
If I was starting again now, trying to build muscle, knowing what I know now, I would do one of two things. Either hire a coach straight off the bat, or go and speak to a coach I know who's really fucking good at building muscle and ask them where they learned it and what course they did and what they done, because it wasn't their PT qual. It wasn't. They'll have gone and done a course. They'll have gone and learned off someone who knows a lot about building muscle. Go and do that course. Even if you're not a PT, go and learn how to do it, because in the first 1 or 2 years of weightlifting, there's so much potential to grow rapidly, and so many people waste it because they end up farting around, not training hard enough, not following a training program, getting fat because you're bulking. So you bulk for a year and you just end up overweight. Me. Yeah. There's it's a minefield building muscle and it takes ages. So knowing what I know now, they're the two things that would have just saved a lot of heartache and a lot of stress.
And money and time.
Yeah. Take loads of gear.
Trent.
Big fat load of Trent. These two.
Dirty bulk.
Trent and bagels. That's the secret. Trent, bagels.
Double trouble. Are weight loss support groups bad for mindset? What do you think on this? Because I'm a very mixed bag on things like this. Weight loss support groups. I'm not going to name any big names. Groups where you go and pay to sit down somewhere.
In a church. It's a bit like a religion.
They've often got just 2 letters as an acronym. There's a few of them. Have good and bad points, I think. And I think that's why there's such mixed messages on them, because they do work for some people. Not that I agree with the methods, and they don't work for others. But in a mindset point of view, I'm not sure I agree with it. I think it can be very almost shameful to stand in front of a group and tell someone they've put weight on and ask them why. I think that's very demeaning.
I think this is a fantastic way for you to determine whether you're in the right group or not. Is if the person who is leading that group hasn't successfully lost a lot of weight and kept it off, you're in the wrong group. Because if the leader of whatever the group is you've joined is still battling to lose weight, why the fuck are you listening to them? If you went to a PT to get personal training sessions to build muscle and they're built like a wet noodle, why are you listening to them? If you go into football practice with a guy who doesn't know how to play football, why are you going to? Same thing for these weight loss groups. Name and no names, but having spoke to a lot of people who've been to a lot of these weight loss groups, the person stood at the front, about the same size as everyone else in that room. To me,
but they don't get shamed.
That's all you need to know about it. Support groups for weight loss, fantastic. If you're in the right community, being around like-minded people who are trying to better themselves, being supported by someone who actually knows what they're doing, and then having other people going through the same struggles as you, massively beneficial to mindset. That's why we've got our communities. Yeah. That's why any good coach worth their salt will have some kind of community to do exactly that. So that all of our clients and us can say, really fucking shit day today. This is what happened, and this is what I did to make it better. And then someone else in the group can go, that's good, that can try that next time.
And I think it's about having a positive group where, yeah, there will be some negatives and there will be some weeks where, like, there's people, do you know what, I've just had a crap week. But the whole point of having a support group is to support you and lift you up and help you continue on that journey, rather than sort of highlight all the negatives and why haven't you done this, why haven't you done that. So support group, amazing. Paid support group, questionable. Does the food I eat matter if I am still within my calories?
Yes.
It depends.
It depends. We just answered that. Just for all of the things we're going to talk about today.
It depends.
It depends.
If you have a very specific goal, then yes. Such as muscle building. You can't live off Coca noodles trying to build muscle.
No, you can't if you're in prison. The best way anyone's ever explained it to me is the amount you eat will affect how you look, and what you eat will affect how you feel. So 1,000 calories of Burger King and 1,000 calories net of chicken, salad and rice will have 1,000 calories worth of energy in. So they'll have the same amount. However, you go and eat your daily calorie allowance of just KFC for a week and tell me how you feel.
Maybe you can make it out of bed at that point.
You're not going to train your best. You're not going to have the most energy. You're not going to sleep well. Your digestion's going to be trash. You're not going to get the most out of your training. You're going to feel hungry all the time. So yeah.
Sluggish, tired. If it's weight loss and that's your goal, you could lose weight on 1,000 calories of Burger King. you would probably gain it pretty rapidly if you started eating again, and you would feel like absolute trash.
How do I tell if I've got a slow metabolism?
Controversial.
Have you been dieting excessively for 6, 12, 18 months and there's very little body fat left on you? Do you have a diagnosed metabolic condition? No, chances are then you probably haven't got a slow metabolism.
Just because you haven't lost weight in a while does not mean your metabolism is slow.
The more body fat you have, the higher your metabolism will be because there's more of you. Explain this to a client this week that your metabolism is like the car you drive. So if you drive around in a Range Rover, you're going to need to put more fuel in the Range Rover to keep it going. And then if you downgrade to a Ford Ka, you're going to save fuel because there's less car to move around. So you're going to need to put less fuel in the car. Same with you. As you lose weight, there's less of you. You've got less body fat. You weigh less. So your body has to expend less energy to move your big carcass around the place. So the less of you there is, the slower your metabolism will be because your your metabolism is just the energy that you expend to do life.
Stuff.
Yeah.
It's the fuel we spend while we're doing stuff. And like Jack said, unless you've been dieting for a ridiculously long time and there's very little of you, or you have a medical condition diagnosed, chances are your metabolism's pretty fine and there are other things you need to look at. Is cardio or weight best to lose weight? I am going to say a nice healthy mixture of both. Big advocate for weights. Don't mind a bit of cardio. But we do need cardio for health in general. But there is no one best exercise for weight loss or fat loss, I would say.
It's whatever you can do the most of. So I'm doing about 9 to 10 hours total of exercise a week at the moment, and the majority of that is cardio. Told that to one of my clients this morning, and he said I could not think of anything worse.
Same.
I eat about between 3,000 to 4,500 calories a day at the moment because of the long, huge amount of cardio that I'm doing across the week. But if you can't think of anything worse than sitting on a bike for 4 hours on a Sunday, cardio is not the best for you. Whereas if you enjoy feeling strong and lifting weights, and you can do that 4 or 5 times a week without really having to put much effort in to get there, that's going to be better for you. If you enjoy going up mountains and you can do that twice a week, or you enjoy going out for a run, that's going to be what's best for you. It's not about what's going to get you the results the quickest, but it's about what you can do now and still be doing in 4, 5, 6 years' time.
And get some enjoyment out of it. I think that's really important, just for the sake of, don't know how to say this word, longevity, that you need.
On the real, I'm going to make longevity come up really slowly in like letter by letter as you try and say that.
There's just going to be so many reels of me just going, longevity.
My Instagram might just become a skit account for you.
Trying to
like
say
yours
words.
Will have all good reels on, and mine will just be taking the piss out of you.
Yeah, in order to be able to be in it for the long game, you need to be able to enjoy to some degree. You know, we're not saying you have to be like absolutely buzzing your tits off the entire time, but if you can enjoy the movement that you're doing, 1, you're going to stick to it longer. 2, you're not going to view it as a chore or roll your eyes at the thought of it. And 3, it's going to be like a nice activity. Like, it'd be nice if you could look forward to it. Even something like a dance class, yoga, running. Not something I'd ever look forward to.
Tried it?
I've tried it. I can do it. But I don't look forward to it, so I don't run. Whereas I love weight training, so I do that 3-4 times a week. So the best exercise for weight loss, fat loss, whatever you want to call it, is the one you can do the most and the one you enjoy.
why do we ask about sex drive to our clients in their weekly performance reviews?
What perverts.
Yeah, we just want to know if they're having sex or not. Just a pair of perverts. Sex drive's a really good indicator of overall health. So it's a really good early indicator of stress. If you're just a highly stressed person anyway and your life's really stressful, then you probably won't notice if it gets a little bit more stressful. Same the opposite way around. So we can use your perceived sex drive as an early indicator of stress and recovery. So even if you've got a relatively low sex drive, if it completely disappears altogether, we're like, okay, that's probably a bit of a warning sign. If you come to us and you've got absolutely no sex drive whatsoever, and then 6 weeks down the line, you eat some vegetables and you start training a little bit, and you're like, I cannot keep my hands off my missus. Well, then good, we know things are moving in the right direction. So the reason we ask quite a probing question each week is it really tells us a lot more than just whether you're having sex or not. It tells us whether we need to step things up, whether we need to look at other areas of your life, your stress, your recovery, the amount of training you're putting in, whether you're eating enough, whether the quality of your food is good enough. So tell us if you're having sex or not, and we'll know how well you're doing.
Listen, we don't want to know details. We're not bothered how many times. We don't want to know anything about the actual act itself. Don't want to know.
People are still going to tell us.
I hope they do start telling us now, just so I can say, listen, made up for you. But in general, having a healthy sex drive, whatever that means to you, low, high, medium, whatever, is a big, big part of your health in terms of general happiness, mood, energy, and hormones. And it's a big indicator of where things are with your overall health, which we probe into a lot. We want to know about everything health-wise, not just, have you exercised today? Have you had some veg today? We try and help with a lot more than that. And sex drive's one of them. And
Pure sex, yeah.
Have you? So it's not just us feeling weird. If your coach doesn't ask that, get a new one. Jeez.
Yeah, how can I manage my diet around my period?
It's hard. It is. It's hard. It is really hard. There is just this absolute shitstorm that comes with it for, like, depending on how you are, maybe 3 to 4 days of just trying to navigate life. I mean, the good news, I suppose, if you are someone who is in a deficit at that time, you can, well, one of the methods we use for someone who is struggling during their cycle is you can take your calories back to maintenance for a couple of days. So if you are struggling with being in a deficit, and even though you're having, big meals full of whole foods and plenty of protein, loads of water, you're really hydrated, you're taking your supplements, blah, 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 and you still find that you can absolutely eat a house, take your calories back to maintenance. I think your body's going through a lot during that, let's say, I don't know, average of like 4 to 7 days that it can probably do without being in a deficit. And sometimes I do that, sometimes I don't. It might be different for you month in, month out. But there are also supplements that can help. I personally take Maca, which I have posted about before, but anyone would think I was on commission for it, to be honest. But I do find it's a bit of a miracle worker in terms of keeping my mood at bay. Big old nod from Jack there.
I'm still alive, so
it keeps me feeling sane. I don't find that I get that big dip and the big crash, and I feel like that affects my appetite as well. So taking that during that time when I feel like a bit of a whirlwind helps even everything out. So there is supplemental support. But if you are really struggling food-wise, go back to maintenance, whatever that is. Ask your coach to figure that out for you, and just ride the waves like that for a couple of days and see how you go.
I think one of the biggest ones that we can use, obviously, some women, your period just doesn't really affect them in training at all. And,
No.
I would have no idea where you are in your cycle. And then some clients just are unable to function.
Floored by it.
In that case, if it's really severe and you do have huge fluctuations through each stage of your menstrual cycle, what we can do is phase each month and have a different style of training, a different style of diet, and a different approach to each phase of your menstrual cycle, depending on where you're at. So if you know when you're menstruating, you're just in agony, can't function, ravenous, okay, sound, more calories, more walking, less training, stuff that's manageable. And then when you come out the back of that, you feel fantastic, you feel really strong and like you want to smash the gym's head in. Back in, pushing, training hard. And if it's a diet phase, we can pull the calories back down there and approach each phase of the menstrual cycle as its own phase, rather than just acting like you're a man and trying to go week by week. It's all the same. Your hormones don't change. That works for men because the hormones don't change. So week 1 of the month, exactly the same as week 3 of the month. But if you really suffer with fluctuations in your menstrual cycle, then that's not the case for you. So week 1 of month 1 will be the same as week 1, month 2. Week 2 of month 1 will be the same as week 2, month 2. And approach it that way. And you'll find that mentally as well, you're more prepared for each week or each phase, depending on how long your cycle is. And that can work quite well for women who have quite a volatile menstrual cycle.
Volatile. I think it is important as well with what you said about treating each phase as its own. Each phase will come with its own pros and cons. Some weeks you're going to feel really, really strong and like, this is amazing, I've got this. But then there'll be that wave, and it is knowing about what your strengths and weaknesses are during that wave. And tracking it, track your cycle and adjust things as you go.
Learning about your cycle. It's how many women have you had work with don't know where they are in the
So
cycle
many.
or what stage of what each cycle means, and it's like
Are you due on? And it's like, you don't know. Maybe that's just me because I'm just like dreading it.